Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video, going to do a review of the Rabbit Hole Derringer Straight Bourbon Whiskey finished in PX sherry casks. So this video is part of a series I'm doing on sherry and sherry cask finished whiskeys. We started off with Fino, then did Manzanilla, and then Amontillado, then Oloroso, then Palo Cantado, and wrapping it up with Pedro Jimenez. Pedro Jimenez, also known as PX, is the name of a white Spanish wine grape variety grown in several Spanish wine regions, but most notably in the Denominación de Origen, or DO, of Montilla Morelos. Pedro Jimenez is used to produce a varietal wine, an intensely sweet, dark, dessert-style sherry, or used to add sweetness to other sherry wines. It is made by drying the grapes under the hot sun, concentrating the sweetness similar to straw wine production. The dried grapes are then used to create a thick black liquid that is fortified and aged in a solera. Rabbit Hole Derringer Straight Bourbon Whiskey finished in PX cask is a wheated bourbon with a mash bill of 68% corn, 18% wheat, and 14% malted barley. It is aged in char number 4 barrels before being transferred to former PX sherry cask for an additional 6 months of maturation. It is non-chill filtered. It's bottled at 93 proof or 46.5% alcohol by volume. Sells for anywhere between $69 and $120 at retail. I paid $79. So if you take a look at this whiskey, it has a slight red tinge to it on the nose. I get very jammy fruit character, a little blackberry, a little blueberry. It has a slight floral note, almost like I would say lavender. Get some classic bourbon notes with a little bit of, say, baked corn, cinnamon, nutmeg, and baking spices. A little bit of caramel and loads of vanilla on the palate. It's sweet up front, dries a little bit towards the back end, but it's pretty sweet all the way through the mid palate. Medium plus intense flavors. It's very jammy, very fruit forward. Get a lot of blackberry, black currants, a little bit of blueberry, a little bit of cassis. I get some jammy fruit notes that remind me of a Zinfandel. About halfway back, I get some vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, baking spices, some classic bourbon notes. Also get a little bit of vanilla and a hint of woodiness. So this is the second bourbon aged in PX cask that I've done in this series. The other one was a Breckenridge from Colorado. This is from Kentucky. I like this one. It's very different than the Breckenridge. Both are bourbons. However, the Breckenridge is a high rye bourbon, so you get more of the black licorice notes, more of the herbal character. This, I get more of sort of the classic bourbon notes of nutmeg, vanilla, baking spices with a core of, say, baked corn character. I like them both, but they're both very, very different. This is a baking spice character on the back end, whereas the Breckenridge is more of that sort of herbal and black licorice note on the back end. But I really like them a lot. Price-wise, they're fairly close. Qualitatively, then it's really going to come down to whether or not you like those rye notes. If you're not a fan of rye, if you're not a fan of high rye bourbons, then this one may be more of your jam. But if you like those characteristics, then you may like the Breckenridge. But I think qualitatively, they're both really close. So I gave the Breckenridge an 89. I'm going to give this an 89. Structurally, they're similar in terms of the fruit character, very similar. Both have a very similar length of finish. The primary difference between the two is a different type of spice. Baking spices versus the green herbal note and with a little bit of licorice to it. So absolutely fantastic bourbons. Now, I think bourbon does well with Pedro Jimenez with a PX cask, because you're talking about a sweet type of sherry going with a sweet type of whiskey. I don't have a ton of experience dealing with, say, Oloroso and bourbon cask, but the ones I have had, both the ones I've reviewed and ones I've had off camera, I find the Oloroso tends to sort of fight with the bourbon cask, whereas a PX tends to play really, really well with a bourbon cask. So if you're looking to experiment with finished bourbons, try checking out some Pedro Jimenez casks. This also does really well on ice. You put it on ice, cool it down, the cask notes become much more prominent. I would say it becomes a lot more fruity, and you get a lot of the more spice character on it as well. Alrighty, if you like watching my videos but you've not yet subscribed, I'm ask that you subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when I go live. And if you're one of my patrons, I want to thank you very much for supporting this work. Until next time, cheers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.